Welcome to bcghosttowns.com. Today we go to Yale. This place was named after James Murray Yale. He was a Hudson's Bay factor at Fort Langley. And although it didn't do well as a fur post, man did it boom as a gold rush town. By the 1860s, Yale is going crazy. If you want to go to the Caribou and get coarse gold nuggets, you gotta come here first. All the merchants, gamblers, and herdies had to pass through Yale's busy streets on the way to Caribou, as well as all the other gold seekers. It doesn't take long for the merchants to figure out that it's best to just mind the miners. Gold was only $15 an ounce, and yet millions of dollars worth of the stuff came down these streets and left by sternwheeler for the ports of New Westminster and Victoria. Yale was the head of steam navigation on the Fraser. When an early adventurer, miner, later politician, David Higgins, was in Yale was 1858, and he described it as the busiest and worst town in the colony, filled with both the God-fearing and the God-ignoring gamblers, ruffians, drinkers, turncoats, highwaymen, thieves, murderers, and painted ladies. Bars ran wide open along these streets, standing room only. Yale was by and large an American town that outnumbered British citizens by at least 20 to 1. The colonial police did give a security unseen back in California. The longest stagecoach run in North America was started by Francis Bernard. It was run out of Yale, and he got his start by carrying letters on his back. He walked the 580 kilometers to Caribou. He charged $2 for a letter and $1 for a newspaper. By 1864, you could take one of Bernard's beautiful red and yellow 6-horse stages from Yale all the way up to Soda Creek. At Soda Creek, you'd transfer onto the paddle wheeler Enterprise. The Enterprise would take you from Soda Creek all the way up to Quesnel Mouth, today known as Quesnel. Bernard had a great track record for efficiency and honesty. In 1864, he transported $4,619,000 in gold from the Caribou goldfields down to Yale. This is not a sad place. The citizens of Yale take pride and take very good care of their pioneer cemetery. It was much more substantial than we see today, because wooden headstones have not stood the test of time, and many graves go unmarked. It was mostly a working man's cemetery. Edward Stout rests here. He almost made it to 100 years of age at a time when most people died young. Ned was one of the first gold seekers here, and a group of 24 went up the Fraser River and were attacked by First Nations. He was one of 5 survivors of that group of 24. Ned went on to become a Caribou Gold King with the likes of Billy Barker, John Cameron, and Richard Willoughby. You can still visit Stout's Gulch. It's still active to this day, and it's between Barkerville and Richfield, just a short walk up from Barkerville. Funny thing is, Ed, with all his money, decided to come back to Yale, and he ended his days, like I said, almost 100 years old. His family still operate businesses in Yale. St. John the Divine is the oldest church on its original site in all of British Columbia. An old man that sold me some nuggets on Front Street also gave me a tip about the Gold Commissioner's cabin and where I could locate it. Well, more interestingly enough, the safe underneath the old cabin. While nothing of the cabin remained, the foundations and this little walkway appear to be all of the 150 years old that I expected it to be. An interesting story was that the Gold Commissioner in his cabin would lower these sealed gold pokes down through the hole in the roof, and it was quite evident that that looks like the hole. And then he would just drop the string down there and it would be fairly secure until the paddle wheelers came in to pick up that gold. Looking at its dilapidated state today, it's hard to imagine just how much rich caribou gold would have just laid around the floor of this safe. Heavy, thick steel doors, obviously made by a blacksmith, are today missing from the front of this safe, salvaged by some treasure hunter of a past time. The Royal Engineers constructed the wagon road through the canyon and was often described as the eighth wonder of the world. Hard to believe that people could be cantilevered out over Fraser's muddy waters with relative safety. Taking advantage of the natural terrain, they pushed this road up through the canyon in places that were just hard to believe. It got a little dicey when you had two freight wagons in different directions trying to pass each other. With the completion of the road, the effects were immediately felt in Caribou. The prices dropped overnight. All aboard! Please try and support our historic sites. It only takes one uncaring generation to lose it for all others.